greetings and welcome back to Web Nostalgia. Peter Kay, a man of many talents, he's been on his way to Amarillo and even went on a road trip in his series starring Max and Paddy. But way back in the year of 2015, we were all about to be introduced to, in my opinion, one of his best shows. Which begs the question, what happens when you take a red Fiat 500L, a supermarket scheme called car sharing, and even give Peter Kay a co-host and hit at a relationship? You get one of the most oddball comedies of all time, based in a car. Peter Kay's Car Share.
The series Car Share was commissioned by the BBC all the way back in 2013, and it was originally made to be for the on-demand service BBC iPlayer. The two wonderful people who created this show were Tim Reed and Paul Coleman, who were inspired by BBC's past show Roger and Val Have Just Got In, which starred Alfred Molina and Dawn French, along with another BBC show named The Smoking Room, which starred Peep Show's Robert Webb. After the two got their unique idea for a show, it was Paul Coleman who pitched it to Peter Kay, and he obviously loved it. Eventually down the road, the creators and Kay found Sian Gibson, who would eventually become Kaylee in the show, and then it was Coleman and the two stars who wrote all the series until the most recent audio special.
Over the years, it grew a major phenomenon, launching many Facebook pages and YouTube channels catering to its best moments and became a cult classic. The TV series ran for only 13 episodes, including a radio special, that aired exclusively through BBC iPlayer this year. And though quite a small series, it managed to explain many things in its run, such as the backstories of the characters, their friends, and even their family and colleagues, who are not shown but are referenced a lot.
Mentioning these side characters, I think it would be a good idea to talk about our favourites and some of their best moments. My personal favourite side character in the show is named Steve. Steve hasn't exactly got any big key comedic moments in the show, other than Kaylee's comments about him always tinkering his motorbike outside his house, but he is still quite an interesting character to me, by showing how both John and Kaylee can be independent instead of just being a will they, won't they couple. Kaylee warns John about Steve, but John gets friendly with him, resulting in them having small conversations as he waits for Kaylee to come out the home. While it's quite obvious that Kaylee now just finds Steve as an annoying brother-in-law that just messes around outside the house all day.
And my personal favourite side character is Ray, or more known as Stink Ray, a fishmonger who works at Tesco's along with Kaylee and John. I mean, entirely not fake shop of real shop that exists in real life. Thank you, BBC. Very cool. The only thing he really has going for him is that he stinks of fish, but these moments, when he is in the red Fiat 500L, are magical. This man could make a whole group of people disperse. Actually, Boris, here's one. Get Stink Ray on the job for the lockdown. You know, so people aren't together and he just goes up to them and then they disperse. Perfect. The Conservatives have never come up with a better plan, apart from disbanding their whole party.
Ah yes, that was an entertaining episode indeed. I would have to say for my key favourite in the show is Season 2's Episode 3. In this episode, John is only on a half day due to him meeting his friend Ian, who also works at a different store location, and has the same position as John, and while when the fed up of work Kaylee finds out about this, she obviously wants to have a bunk off, like they're in secondary school. Yes, secondary school because we aren't American, and this show is American as well. This then results in John refusing until he eventually digs in. So then this leads up to a horrific fake sick call from Kaylee and John stressing about breaking rules, shown by the scene where he tells her to stay in the car while he meets Ian, but of course she doesn't. After John meets Ian, they both decide a good bunk off day would be visiting a zoo. Yes, one of them zoos Mark enjoys in Peep Show. Well, they do have a great time until they discover after driving away that they still have a monkey on top of their car still, who seems to be quite cute, but it turns out to be their worst nightmare, and of course the zoo is now closed with no one answering the phone. This then results in antics in the car of the monkey scratching, peeing and while also eating a curly wurly, a wonderful British chocolate bar. This is all hilarious to me and my family, which makes this our favourite episode in total. Well, you must be wondering how they sort the situation out, right? They have to end up calling the police, explaining they accidentally kidnapped the monkey, resulting in the monkey being taken away by the cops and giving them the middle finger.
My favourite episode is Series 2, Episode 2, simply titled Episode 2. This episode goes to a rather weird formula than all the other ones. This episode is simply about Kaylee and John being invited to a costume party, suggesting the episode is based on Halloween. They both dress as Harry Potter and Hagrid for the party, and unlike other episodes, this episode takes place at night time. Shortly after the party is over, John notices an intoxicated Kaylee and her friend Elsie, who is dressed up as Smurfette and is roped into taking both of them home, which results in some very weird and wonderful things happening, most precisely in the end of where John and Kaylee finally lock lips and kiss. However, this is interrupted by a horny Elsie, who formerly in the episode is trying to get John into bed. Remember kids, John gets all the action. Bucks Fizz would be proud. And she leaves her in Ella and he has to go back for her.
Basically because this series is one of our favourites, and not many people have surprisingly covered it on YouTube, we want to talk about every episode in the series. Essentially think this is a part 1 out of 3 in the series of us going through Car Share. This first episode is going through our favourite things in the show, episode 2 will be going through season 1, which is the longest with 6 episodes, and episode 3 will be going through both season 2 and 3, since the total of these episodes make the same amount in season 1. We honestly can't wait to go through this whole show with you and hopefully get you guys into watching this series if you haven't already.
So we are doing this as a starting point to number 1, avoid the big copyright, and number 2, give you a feel on how the show progressed. Think of it as a 3-episode documentary, but rather than giving you a well thought out documentary by Trevor Noah, think of it as a documentary by 2 18-year-old college kids who are bored and are scared of the lockdown. Not really.
And it seems like Gokuja has left me with doing the famous outro. So, we'll see y'all later, and peace.
Wait, another Geek 123, where the hell did you go?
Give it a curly whirly.